Are you ready to get woke? Welcome to the Woke as podcast with your host, Alex Lazarev.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm here with my spiritual soul fam, Paul and Kath again. Woo! Woo! We're in Los Angeles. It's a special time. We just finished one of my men's events, the Infinite Man Summit.
Thank you. That was so much fun.
It was a great time. Did you guys have a good time?
It was awesome, epic. Yeah, it was more than I expected, actually. I did expect good things, but it was pretty empowering, pretty cool. Met a lot of amazing men. Yeah, got to be with you guys, which was amazing in itself. But yeah, no, it was incredible.
So before we get into all that, here's probably what we're going to talk about. Probably going to talk about Infinite Man. I'd like to catch up just what these guys have been up to in the last, couple months since they've been on the podcast. Any crazy adventures or things that have happened. And then I want to get into, because something that I've noticed for me as I'm traveling, I get kind of worn down. There's a lot of stuff out there kind of in the 3D that kind of crushes our soul and some of the technologies that they know about, and whether it be practices or actual technology that we can use to sort of protect ourselves and feel good even when we're like in New York City or LA or somewhere crazy like that. So a lot of great stuff I want to talk about. But first, and by the way, finally we got a new setup where we have 2 microphones, guys. 2 microphones, and ironically, first podcast with the new technology, 3 people. But still, we got 3 people sharing 2 mics. Maybe that's better than 2 people sharing 1 mic. I don't know. So I just want to hand it over to you guys and just be like, what has been a couple months since I was in Vancouver, and what's been happening for you guys? Like anything before we get up to Infinite Man? Did anything happen? Any big downloads? Any realizations? Or just how's life been going for you back in the van?
Do you want to go, Kath?
No.
The mic, they can't hear you.
Wow, big downloads. It's kind of like we're always downloading, really, because we never stop growing, right? So we're always downloading and going deeper and deeper into our journey and deeper into our connection with each other. Honestly, I think what I realized the most, and maybe more lately as well, is the more I open my heart and the more I open to the field, being all that is, the quantum field, the field of the evolutionary energy, life force, whatever you want to call it, the more I open into that field, the more ordinary I become. That's what I'm really recognizing. Like, it's as simple as that. I become more and more of Paul, who I am. And I feel more grounded, I guess, as a result, more connected to you, to Kath, to everyone in my life. Just life becomes more comfortable when there's not as much anxiety and angst and protection of my heart going on, when I can show up more authentically being myself, which is one of the things I love about what you do, Sasha, with Infinite Man, or just the way you teach, man. And I've said this to Sasha before, and I'm gonna do a plug here. Back in the days, I don't know how many of you heard of Sterling men's groups. That was sort of one of the first bigger movements in the men's movement. And I was very much involved in that movement and other men's movements. A lot of my friends are very much involved in the men's movement. I was part of the self-empowerment movement as well for a lot of years. And the reason I'm just kind of setting that up is because I'm so impressed with the quality of men you attract into your workshops. And perhaps that's because Sasha's big on being yourself, being authentic. And who knew, right, that you could just be yourself and have the best life ever, right? And it's a simple thing to say, but another thing to do, right? Like, it's a whole different ball game, because we're cultured, and Sasha speaks a lot about this in Infinite Man. We're cultured into being who we're not, And so it's like we're wearing a mask, and you can't connect through a mask, and it's uncomfortable and it's confusing. Because you're like, geez, which mask am I supposed to wear today? I used to hear some of, both Kath and I are members of the AA club, but for a long, long time. But some of the things we heard in there were kind of funny. One of the things I heard was one of the guys say, I've got places to go and people to be. It's that kind of thing. That's exhausting, right? You're teaching men how to just show up and be yourself. Like, how much easier could it be than that? Everywhere you go. You know? I've been talking quite a bit for a minute. Kathie, you want to, anything like coming up
I
for
wasn't
you?
interrupting in order
No,
to divert. I was just, doing that thing.
People want to know what's been going on for you since our epic Vancouver podcasts. Right?
Oh, wow. We went to Lisbon with Sasha. Gosh, that was a lot of fun. Thank you, all the Lisbon crew and participants. We really had a beautiful, beautiful time. And so, no surprise that we come to LA and meet the same caliber of young men and men of all ages. I was surprised to see there was a really nice range that, a young man like yourself isn't just appealing to the young guys. Like, there's some elders in there that are, once they get all tapped in together, it can be quite a tribe. And we had quite the weekend together and really appreciated meeting every one of you. And you treated me like such a goddess in so many ways. I just, thank you so much, for really seeing me. Thank you.
Awesomesauce. One of the things from the event that happened that I suspected would happen, and something we talk about a lot, that it's your vibration, the field that you put out that really affects people and shows people the way forward. Just like they say, you change the world by changing yourself and by just being who you are, spreading your light. When you guys were up there on stage and you guys, just the way you guys were loving on each other and talking about how much you care about each other, but just the way, one of the guys came up and just said, just the way that you looked at her, he was hoping that he would have that or that he could be in a relationship where after 13 years he'd have that kind of love for somebody. So just seeing the dynamics between you guys for the men was really, really powerful. Just seeing this couple 13 years together, madly in love, and talking about how it's a shit show and there's tons of work to do and it's fucking, you hate it. You've gone through the hatred for each other and the love and more layers of hatred and wanting to kill. But still having gone through that and holy shit, for them to see that, because it's not really talked about. Nobody talks about that stuff, especially where I come from. It's just all about, going and sleep, just get, everybody these days, it's just, they have 3-month relationships, 6 months relationships, a year. As soon as it gets difficult, you get out, right? So you got this idealized version of this person's beautiful. This is good. This is the one for me. And then you project all your stuff onto them and they're going to be the one that's going to save you. And then 6 months later, you realize they're a human and they got shit to work on and they're fucked up. And then we just dump them and then we just move on to the next. So holy shit, what a thing to put in front of people, this relationship you guys have got going on.
Happy trails.
Yeah. Hopefully you can't hear the planes too much with these high quality microphones, but there are planes right here all the time.
It's so cool. It's like, have you ever been in a plane looking down at the houses as you're going by? It's like, now we're the people in the houses and it's like, they're right there. Hi.
That's super interesting.
Can you see me waving? Just to touch a little bit further into that one, some of the fellows who came up and spoke privately and had different kinds of questions. For one fellow came up and said, wow, what you said made me think that maybe I'd given up on some relationships too soon, and that I might be able to bring this forward into another relationship and be able to just mentally stay in the room a little bit longer, and also to know when I've hit that spot where I should get out, and it's a fine line, right? And you're gonna know inside. There were times when Paul and I looked at each other, and honestly, I remember saying to him once at least, "Are you sure you want to keep doing this with me, Paul? I mean, just as your friend, is this a good idea?" Should we keep this up? And so grateful we did. Man, the depths and the richness and the peace. And then we'll still hit those nasty sticky spots and go, wow, that's still available to us, huh? Dang. But it's like, there was one time most recently when it's like it's like a little relay thing, and you hit that point and you can go on to the next, and and we started tagging where we were going, and it was like, here we are. Oh, what's next? What's next, right? And we were able to go, whoa, let's not go there. Can we get to where we go after we go there, before we go there this time? And we did. And it was like, thank you. Wow. Nice. And it's just the progress, I think, that all relationships go through, even parents and children and everything. And we're just told too much about how everything should be perfect. I think I was like in my 40s at the end of my marriage to my daughter's father, and had a couple relationships, and really got the download that the program I was running of what I expected from these men, it was fed into my consciousness, and they couldn't not do for me what I was expecting them to. And I should not expect to be meeting those expectations that they'd been fed about women either. And that the redefinition of how we were going to relate was really what was going on. And I was furious, and I was crying, and I was angry. And at the time, my daughter was about 14, I think. And she said, Mom, he wasn't even that great a guy. And I said, it's not about him. It's about the end of this illusion. I'm mad that I've been sold down this way for so long, and I've hurt myself, and I've hurt people, I've hurt men, I've hurt you. I like, just because I've lived in this fairy tale version of life, and life is not a shit show, but neither is it a fairy tale, and somewhere down the middle is the ecstasy and bliss of just being a real human being with someone else. Yeah.
What I found interesting in the Infinite Man, it didn't matter what speaker that was up there, and they were all amazing. I felt really privileged to be there. And there's so much to be learned. I'm always learning, right? Always learning. Doesn't matter how far you go down the rabbit hole, how long you've been out there, there's always more to learn, always. And what I found interesting with every speaker was the alignment around energy and authenticity. Everybody was talking about that, which I found refreshing and really cool, that we were obviously all on the same page. So again, it came back to being authentically yourself when we've been taught to be everything but who we actually are. That's our enculturation, which Sasha talks a lot about. So I wanted to put that out there. And there was a lot of the men actually, I just had such a heart connection with. And they were so ready to hear and hungry for anything that could help them improve their life on all levels, right? Because we're not just talking about relationships and women, it's your whole life. I mean, it's being at work and wanting to ask for that raise, or having the courage to be fearless and step out into your passion, maybe create your own business, or a new way of a new product, whatever it is. It takes balls to do it, right? And there was so much talk about how much easier it is to just be yourself, to be that authentic self. And one of the guys we were talking to, which I found really interesting, was like, and it was a conversation that went around to, okay, let's say you pick up that beautiful woman, right? You see her and I got the line for her, I can go up and say hello. But at the end of the day, how sustainable is that if you're not being yourself? And are you actually interested in the longer term really being with somebody? And I talk a lot about this as a therapist. Eventually, you're going to come to that place where Kathie and I came to. And if you're not going to, as Kathie would say, stay in the room, means not physically have to stay in the same room, but the room of the relationship, and work it through, you may be missing a fantastic opportunity. Now, that's not an excuse to stay in a relationship that's dysfunctional or it's not working for you. We're not saying that. In counseling, there's a saying, if you don't heal it, you marry it. It's true. Any unfinished business in your nuclear family, especially with your mom and dad, guess what? You're going to meet it in a partner. And if you know that, it makes it easier to treat it as an opportunity for healing rather than, oh, I'm with the wrong person. Because it doesn't matter who you're with. Eventually, you're going to hit that territory. And if you understand that it's an opportunity to grow, you're less likely to take it so personal and walk out the door. You know, because at the end of the day, when you really, really get that, then it becomes more about managing your own emotional state and not projecting it onto your partner. Like learning how to be with your emotional territory and move it through without projecting it. That's huge, huge, huge. That's one of the skills that we teach is how to, well, emotional alchemy is what we call it, how to be contained with your own emotional energy and be, rather than reactive, be proactively present with your own experience. Man, I'm telling you, that can save you a lot of pain and heartache, because it's heartbreaking when you would leave a relationship and realize, shit, you know what? She or he had a point. They really did. And now 2 relationships later, I'm discovering it with a stranger when I could have discovered this with a friend. You see what I mean? So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you know, like we talk about hitting that place of hatred, and people go, wow, that is a super strong word. Are you sure you need to use that? And the thing is that if we get deeply honest with ourselves, we will find there is a place in ourselves somewhere for someone or something, even if it's removed from us, like we will project it onto a global situation or something, where we will find that place of hatred, and we will justify it or not, to ourselves and others, dive into it, and it's the avoidance of it. It's the camouflaging of it as something else that keeps it alive. What Paul and I discovered is if when you get into it and you just let it rip, but like don't take this as permission to go and massacre somebody, but just explore within yourself, like, wow, how deep is this dislike or this irritation or this little bit of anger actually going? Because the depth of that hatred is also the equivalent is the height of your love. And the deeper you can go into that, the more you have the trust to surrender to the heights of love. Because while that's there, you're afraid to go that the equivalent into the love, because the vulnerability of that will come and get me soon, either in that I will sabotage this relationship, or they've got the equivalent because we sense it and they're gonna come after me. And so we contract and we don't get those deep rewards, and that deep surrender will go across the board. You will find space in your heart, you'll find space in your thoughts, and you will find a new sexual freedom with one another. That surrender will bring a trust that has nothing to do with positions or preferences of any kind. It's just about meeting that soul in such a complete way that you have a surrender to humanity, to being a human being with another human being as your witness. Can't be praised enough.
Well, something I've learned recently, and I guess worth putting out there, is that you got to get to a certain place in your own kind of development, and I guess honesty with yourself and your own healing process, so that you're ready to meet somebody who's also in that place where they're already doing the work and willing to do the work with you, and then also work on the relationship. Because, I recently had a relationship where I just wasn't ready for something serious. Like I hadn't done enough work on me, and they hadn't done the work on them. So it was just absolutely impossible to really make it work. So
that's
so
just
two
the
people
step
have to
along
be,
the way, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, like, had we both been at a different level, maybe further on, or maybe even like a year from now, if we continue on our own paths, maybe it would be possible. But just it's like both people have to be at a certain level to really do the work to be together, it seems like. Then again, maybe there's couples out there, they're just problem free, they're great, they could just get together and have, and maybe, but for like fucked up people like me who come from really like a lot of trauma, it seems like and we attract people with trauma as magnets as well, because like that's who we connect with. So when you get two people like magnets who are fucked up meeting each other, they both have to be doing the work, otherwise it's a shit show. So I guess the question is, how do people know whether they're ready and whether the person that they meet are actually both ready to do the work together?
Well, you know what, Sash, it's life. You don't know. You just got to do it, and it'll work long term, or it won't. But if nothing else, you or they or both of you will have had some growth. And we when Paul says, if you don't heal it, you'll marry it, and it's like, yep. And as long as you're in a corporeal being, you're working on something, and so be grateful that somebody has shown up with a similar issue to walk hand in hand with you towards your healing together. And they may go, around the block, they may go a mile down the road, and they may take the long way home with you. And you don't know. Just try.
Yeah, what a huge topic we walked into.
Yeah, right.
It's a shit
What
show.
the heck?
Do we go deeper? Do we bounce into what the plan was? I don't know.
This was the plan.
This is the plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe this is over.
Yeah, it's done. We're out of here. I mean, what I've been going through is like since Vancouver, I just had some really big pops and awakenings, and I'm just at a different place, and I've just been going through like cleaning up my life, and just breaking up with certain people that I just know that I can't really have in my life, and that's just been happening. And the universe has also been giving me the clear, like with my ex in my romantic relationship, we never had that space of real separation, because we were such close friends, to really have that space to heal and kind of have that. So that seems to be something that's coming in. It's like you need to have that. And the universe has been kicking my ass with other relationships, business relationships, friendships. If people aren't really working on themselves, they're not a certain place, they're not coming from a certain place, of really like helping people. And, when they're not coming from like people that are coming from the ego and they just want to get more stuff from me, and I want people to like me and all that kind of stuff. I've been there and I get it, but I just can't be going deep in those kind of relationships at all with people. So it seems like after awakening, the more you kind of move in that direction, it just destroys your life. It's like you go back to this life that's not you anymore, and it's quite a shit show. It really is. Everything. So right now everything's kind of going and it's like, it's wild. It's really like waking up is really, really intense, and it shakes your whole life up in a big way. And it's not over. You think you have this profound experience of oneness, and one with all beings, all great, and then guess what? You got to go back to being a person and dealing with everything. Like everything's going to change because you've changed so much, and you're going back to your old life, which was based on your old vibration and your old beliefs and all this kind of stuff. So really, really intense process. And I really don't see many people talking about that or writing about that process of really waking up and what it's like. It's really wild.
No, that's a good point. It's like a mobile, the mobiles above babies' cribs, and they have all the pretty things the baby's interested in, like little birds and things like that. If you look at your life that way, like a mobile, you have the shorter arm of the mobile, which is the closest people to you, perhaps your parents, siblings, and then the arms get a little longer, and those are your immediate friends. And then the arms get a little longer, and that's more like perhaps who you work with, who you see more often. And then all the way out is kind of the periphery of people socially and you hang out with. And it is a giant mobile. And when you take either one of those pieces off of any part of the mobile, especially the core part, when you reposition it, where you take it right off, what happens? The mobile is going to start bouncing all over the place. But eventually it will find a new center, and everything will come into balance. While it's doing that, it can look like a shit show. It can feel like a shit show, actually, because you're not vibrating at the same vibration, meaning that those who used to be in coherence with, in tune with, you're no longer in the same coherent resonance with them anymore. And a lot of the speakers talk about this in the energetics, right? Like you become like oil and water, or you zig and they zag. You're no longer in the same frequency. It's like when you're listening to your favorite radio station, and all of a sudden you're like, I've kind of had enough of this genre of music. It's not doing it for me anymore. I'm kind of into this now. And so you change the dial just slightly. What is that? It's a frequency. Now all of a sudden it might be a different frequency of music, whatever that is. Now as soon as you're into that music, everything changes. The genre of people that are attracted to that music, where they go, how they live, like everything. And your life's really the same way. So when we make these big changes, it can be a little confusing. Now the Buddhists say confusion is a high state of consciousness, because it means that you've shifted and you're opening to something new in your life. So expect it, actually. Expect it, but also expect a miracle, because a miracle's on its way. It's a miracle you shifted in the first place. It doesn't seem like that in the beginning, but as your life comes into a new balance point, it's like, wow, it's richer, more fulfilling. Your relationships are better. They're actually relationships that you could probably maintain, some of them for a lifetime. You're just having a better time all around. Like there was one of your guys that says, as soon as Sasha taught me how to be more authentic and have the courage to go out and actually start talking to people, it wasn't just girls, it was people in general. Next thing you knew, he went to his boss, he got a raise, he was hanging out in a different environment of people. Like he said, I always wanted to be with those people that were doing really cool, interesting things, not just sitting at the bar saying the same bullshit every day, right? And so I wanted to have a deeper, fulfilling life, like have more excitement. And his whole life changed. And now he's in a whole nother level of consciousness, and the people who he's hanging around with, everything changed for him. But he said the same thing. I had to let go of some of my drinking buddies. I had to let go of some old friends that I was loyal to because I thought I had to be, that like, and some family members, they've got their opinions too, right? So yeah, there's a lot goes on.
Well, it's a typical, and it's a law of nature, because if we had these beautiful experiences that shift everything and create more space and allow you to view things differently, and then our next growth was coming at us like a train, we would start to avoid it, right? But what happens is we're given what's referred to as the pink cloud. It's like you just get this little pink cloud to sit on and rest in, and everything looks like it's coming through rose-colored glasses, and then very slowly, some of the stuff will start to shift, and slow enough that you're not really noticing it, and you still got enough pink cloud that you're hanging in the beauty of it. And then, when you're ready, the next thing will come, and I appreciate that. I couldn't have taken it any faster.
Yeah, actually, can I say something? That is so pertinent, because really, I know our ego says, yeah, I want it all, give it to me, If you got it all, you'd be in a psych ward, And it's like you get as much as you can handle. And we all say that to people. You'll never get more than you can handle. So the fact that like I was just talking to someone today, and there's a lot coming up for them. And, in the old programming is like, oh, I should be positive all the time, right? If I'm not positive and happy and feeling fantastic, something's wrong.
I'm not anchoring myself.
Yeah. And it's like, well, actually, to a certain degree, that holds true. Attitude equals altitude. But on the other hand, I was saying to this person, it's coming up because you're ready. When your vibration level starts to vibrate at a different frequency, guess what? The low density energy that you've been holding on to, stress, traumas, old traumas, which then have old mental attitudes and belief systems, all that starts changing. all of it starts moving. And this stuff will come up. It's guaranteed to come up. And I want to be honest with people. I don't want to give them rah-rah bullshit, right? And then throw them out. It's like, you know, here, go out to the Russian front, but don't have a rifle. You know, it's like kind of dumb, right? It's like, not that it's a Russian front, but it can feel like it.
I was thinking about that
It
too.
can feel like it, right? It can when you're in the trenches and
Or the
you're
American
feeling,
front.
you know, you
Or the
feel
Canadian
the American,
front.
the Canadian, the whatever front, you know. Yeah, it's
You
like
know
a
what it
war
is?
zone.
You know what it is, Paul?
Feels like a
it's
war
this
zone.
analogy that you use all the time, and I think it really dropped for me the other day, and it was like when you watch the televised projection of when a rocket ship is leaving the atmosphere, right? And when you watch that ship and it's vibrating, and it gets to a certain point, and the thing that got it to that certain point falls off, right? And it had to be there to get it to that certain point, and then it falls away, and then more, you know, then now there's more fuel available in a different trajectory, and it's pushing it up until it gets to that place where it's boom out, and it's a done deal. But you had to have those denser things, and it was the vibration that was actually causing, like, okay, when this gets to this vibration, you let that piece go or it's all going to fall apart.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And actually, when the last stage of the rocket lets go, you're finally free of the gravitational force of the Earth, right? And then it takes just a little bit of a, you know, power, and you're going a long distance in space with that little bit of power. And if you look at what is gravitational pull in what we're talking about, fear, you know, and that's what you're talking about, how to be a fearless liver, a fearless lover, like how to express yourself more fearlessly, knowing that you will meet fear. It's inevitable, you know, but how are you going to be in it?
Get comfortable with the fear.
Get comfortable in it. Yeah, I love that. I love that analogy. And awakening is like that. It's like stages of letting go, and it does come in stages. It's not a one-shot deal. It deepens. So once you know, when people say, "Oh, what's awakening?" Well, you're just actually letting go of more fear in your life, and you're becoming more yourself. That's all it means, simply. You're becoming more authentic, and so you start to live more authentically.
Yeah, and when that first piece falls away, the rest of it is in a new space and has a new vibration and has less drag on it. But that piece was always there, right? We're not taking in anything new. We're just letting go of what doesn't serve us and becoming what we are.
Yeah, and it gets easier, right, to let go of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like some people say, yeah, everything I let go of had claw marks on it. You know, it's
Right.
like, no.
Which
right?
brings us right back to acknowledge the hatred. Acknowledge where you are so angry, you are so afraid, you are so resentful, you are so something. Let it have its expression in a safe place. Don't hurt people with it, and don't hurt yourself with it. But just acknowledge that it's there so that you can let it go. You can let that density go.
Yeah, in counseling, you know, we used to, in the training, one of my mentors said, you watch, under annoyance is rage. And somebody was like, oh, in the class, I'm slightly annoyed. And he said, would you like to follow that through? And once that person went underneath, in 20 minutes, they were spitting like bullets, you know. They were frothing at the mouth. They were so angry, you know. So it's underneath, things are bubbling. And so when we get more authentic and real, we're actually in a place where we're more comfortable with being more honest about what we're feeling and allowing those deeper. And you hear it a lot, right? Subconscious, unconscious. That's what's ruling the life. It's my unconscious belief systems. It's the traumas I haven't dealt with. It's like they're sending out a beam, a frequency, and it's attracting events and people into my life. And I'm like, I wonder why they're here, you know? And this is what happens. So we change the frequency. We get more coherent, more in the heart, and different people start coming into our life. More opportunities, different opportunities. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Because for a long time I started feeling a lot better, and I wasn't directly dealing with my really deep trauma. I was just raising my vibration, understanding how things work. I basically just went on the spiritual path, just waking up to like, what is this, all this, and I was feeling a lot better. Like all that anger and stuff, it just kind of was going away. As you awaken to the truth of oneness, those things just kind of like go away, and yet on some deep level it's still there. And it was when I really went at it directly, and then I really had some some really big releases. But so it's like you can come at it in terms of just overall like waking up and healing and whatever, or you could go at it directly, or a combination of both. And I guess it's up to everybody just to find their own way of dealing with their shit. And some people have a lot more shit than others as well. I had a lot of shit, so it was quite a yeah, it was quite a journey. All right, so that's all good. So one thing I really wanted to get into is, at least I guess I'll be selfish, it's kind of personal for me, but I think a lot of people will relate to it. For me, as an example, when I was in Vancouver, I had some amazing experiences with you guys. A lot of healing happened, and we talked about these episodes 45 and 46. So it was really great. And I was really in like just a beautiful place. And then I was like super inspired. I'm like, I'm gonna go on the road. I'm gonna go do talks. I'm gonna help people. So I flew to Europe and I did that there. And then I was in New York, and I'm in California now, and I'm doing all this kind of stuff. And now I'm like worn out. I'm here now. I'm just like, holy shit, I'm destroyed. I'm not in that super amazing, super blissed out, lovey state. I'm just like, I'm still good, but it's just nowhere near where it was before. And I think it's a combination of stuff. It's like being away from you guys and your super love bubble, but also just being in the cities, like being in that heavy density of just like all the thought and all the electro smog, the Wi-Fi, the fucking stuff, all of that shit. I feel really takes its toll. Like I found it much more difficult to sleep when I was in New York, like in Manhattan. It was fucking brutal. Here's a bit better. But compared to the sleep you get like when you're out in like the middle of fucking bumfuck nowhere nature, holy shit. So I just wanted to talk about, because I think a lot of people, they don't even realize that they're suffering in terms of like too many thoughts and just how they're just their overall how they're feeling. Because a lot of people don't actually get out into nature and get away from everything to have that experience of like really grounding and really connecting. So yeah, I just wanted to hear about like some of the, whether it be practices you do, and I know you guys are big into your tech. I know you got a lot of crazy tech at your house that helps you guys manage and feel better and stuff. And just to counter all of this heaviness that's coming in. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. How do you really stay in your center? Like what spiritual practices do you have that are quite regular? And then also on the technological side, what are you using to counter all of this shit that's coming at us, this shit show? It's a big loaded question, but there you go.
Well, one thing I want to say is turn it over to Kath for a minute, because Kath, amongst a lot of other things, is definitely an authority on EMF. I mean, she's been working with EMF technology, or pulsed electromagnetic technology, for a few years. And in Canada, at one point, we, and especially Kathie, were the number one in the company we work for in electromagnetic technology. So, and the benefits of it. So, do you want to speak a little bit to that, Kath?
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff coming up about the 5G that's being rolled out and what is actually happening to us. And 5G and things that we don't even know about that are connected to it and beyond it and all the rest of it. It's pretty serious. But what people also don't realize is that ever since we've been able to plug something into the wall, just the electricity running through the house, we have been disrupting our cellular functioning. We are, on a cellular level, we resonate within a certain frequency, and that's what the body expects to live in. And it's related to the Schumann wave, which is created by electromagnetic frequencies on the planet, which basically is thunder and lightning, right? So these frequencies can be duplicated in technology. And when we're out of sync on a cellular level, so many things happen to us that you don't even realize it because it's so incremental. And so so it's when you get into an extreme situation, and I'll just cut to the chase and tell you my extreme situation was sciatica. I was getting the referral of, if you don't know what it is, it's nerve pain that originates from the low back and goes down the legs. And some say it's emotional, some say it's posture, some say it's whatever. It could be EMF and the body not being able to bring circulation to certain nerves because of the way things go. Could be the way you're sitting. However it occurs for you, there are solutions. And so I was getting worse and worse. And sciatica can bring you to the point where you actually can go in for an operation, which risks the loss of use of your legs, or it just naturally occurs, and the pain is excruciating. So I could wake up in the morning and go to move and just be like I was being given an electric shock. And so this one particular instance, it was getting worse and worse. Chiropractic. I had people hanging me upside down, putting little things on me and jolting and all the rest of it. If I could get there and try it, I was doing it because I was hardly able to walk and I was getting pretty frightened. A friend of mine said, I just got this electromagnetic mat. Come and give it a try. And my friends are kind of kamikaze, so they always put everything on high for as long as you can go. And I just expect that from them. So I went over, could drive that day, and got put on this mat and was talking away. And they had the device that at that time, this was in 2011, would only go up to 48 minutes. Or 24 minutes. So they put me on twice at the highest intensity, and we're just chat. You don't feel anything. You don't know anything. I had got on the mat at an 8 out of a 10. I got off and I was 2 out of a 10 in pain. And it was just like, it was just a no-brainer for me because of the contrasting experience that I had had. And so I bought it, and I've never had sciatica since. And as Paul mentioned, we became distributors, but we had the device in our life for 4 years, and we're putting our friends, our clients, our everything on it. And then one day somebody said, you should sell these to other people. Like, you should spread this around. Like, what are you doing just using it for yourself? And it was like, yeah, you're right. And, we blew open the west coast of Canada. There'd been a couple of distributors of this device in Vancouver, but nobody did what we did. And it was, I think, the time that we'd had it in our life allowed our friends and clients to see that this wasn't something we were pushing. And we had such an experience, and we'd seen so many things. So it's a pulsed electromagnetic frequency, and that is a pure science. There's a science of PEMF, and so it does something. So if you have a genuine PEMF device, it means you have a device that duplicates pulse electromagnetic fields that have these certain reactions, and it's Health Canada certified to reduce aches and pains and increase blood circulation, and there's pretty much nothing else that the body needs. Once you get that kind of stuff going in the body, everything, it reduces the tremors associated with MS and Parkinson's. It helps you sleep better. It helps you stay awake better. It decreases brain fog. It does everything. And people say, well, will it do this for me or will it do that for me? And it's like, well, this addresses cells. If you have cells in that part of your body, then something will happen.
So what is it actually doing to the cells? I understand about blood circulation, but what's it actually doing to the cells?
The reason why it circulates the blood better is because every cell is an individual universe unto itself, and it has a charge on the inside, a charge on the outside. And when it's given the pulsed electromagnetic field that it likes within the 0 to 30 hertz range, this cell will start to have the proper charge on either side. And so when it bumps into another cell, they bounce off like that screensaver of bubbles, right? When you don't have that kind of cellular vitality, they clump and they start to lose it's like brain fog on a cellular level. They lose coherence. They don't know what their gig is. They can't, I'm a heart cell and I'm pounding away, and I'm a liver cell and I'm cleaning away, and all of those kinds of things. It's like, I don't know, what am I supposed to do here? And and so it's coherence on a cellular level. And what Paul and I truly believe is it's a consciousness raising device. Because
Nice.
when you're coherent on a cellular level
She's bouncy,
and you're
look.
sleeping better, you're absorbing nutrition, you're not in pain, you become happier. When you're happier, you gradually just spread that around, and a happy person creates a happy world.
Yeah, you guys love those mats. They're always talking about the mats. Well, all I know is when I was on them for about 6 weeks when I was in Vancouver, I did feel good at the end of that. So Awesomesauce things, it's interesting actually because one of the technology bits I use is these Tesla wall plugins. It's just called Blue Shield or whatever. And so apparently it just affects your cells also, and they actually show X-rays of just normal people who don't use any technology and their cells, and you can look this up online if you just look it up. But and their cells were all mushy. They were all just mushing together, and it looks kind of like icky. And then they just showed some X-rays of people who'd been in these healthier fields, and all the cells were like, you could see all the cells on their own. They were just kind of like sitting next to each other, and they weren't all smushy. And when you saw that picture, you're like, whoa, you could really see the difference. So it sounds like this is doing that. It's like getting the cells healthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, there was something else that occurred to me, and it just whistled out of my poor brain.
Can I
Go
just
for
throw
it.
something in there, Kath? One of the cool things about it is it takes 8 minutes only to do a full charge in the cells.
And that lasts for 4 to 6 hours.
4 to 6 hours.
So you're charged up.
And I think what's important to realize is the effects of the damage that's being done by the EMF waves. And to keep it really simple, so you get a better idea, perhaps, or it's a little simpler. If the battery in your car starts to go dead, what happens? Car doesn't run, right? And things are starting to happen just before it goes dead. And there's lots of research done. If you have an electrical charge in the cell and a certain temperature, some claim it's almost impossible to get cancer. And a lot of other things, because the cellular vitality hasn't deteriorated, right? And think of it this way: in your body, from 0 to 30 hertz range, each cells are operating slightly at a different frequency. So the liver cells have a different frequency, the brain cells to, the skin cells, the blood cells, and all the rest of it. So when they receive the full spectrum of the Schumann resonance, everything is getting the maximum window, right, of coherence, what it needs to operate efficiently, right? And the thing what's cool about this one, Kathie, right, when you were in Mexico, there's a guy that had been doing blood analysis for like a long time, right, years and years. And so they put it to the test. Okay, I think he did a few people, 8 minutes. And they got on and he did the blood before and after. And he said, I've never seen anything like this. In 8 minutes, it was insane. And he's like the blood's bouncing, it's healthy. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What is this technology?
These were real nerds in the field of what's going on in your blood. Like they're special people on the planet, and they deal with a lot of the autistic spectrum children, and they were blown away. Yeah.
Because you have one terminology I love, and you say that cells are basically PTSD in the corner going, because they're having to deal with this electromagnetic waves. I mean, and the thing is, it's like the old frog pot theory, right? You put a frog in tepid water and turn it up slowly, it boils alive. If you threw it in hot water, it would jump right out, literally. We're literally boiling in some ways in electromagnetic activity. You walk past a microwave, do you feel it?
Nope.
But is it there?
Yep.
Oh yeah, you can use a device that shows you clearly that wave is there. And we're getting used to more and more of these waves. And so what this technology also does is it helps rebuild the damage that's being done.
Yeah.
By all of this, stuff we're swimming in.
Heals old bone fissures, for instance, because it excites the calcium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that I found, now Kathie was extreme. For me, I had a lot of pains in my body. I was an athlete. I was a logger, construction worker, a martial artist, a weight trainer. I mean, I'd been in accidents. My whole body had been injured on one level or another. But I was able to live with it. But I thought, oh shit, I guess it's just the way it is, right? You just get up and you deal with it. And it was so weird because after about, I guess we'd been at the lighthouse, we'd been using the technology already for a couple of years. Yeah, a couple of years. And I realized one day, holy shit, my body is pain-free. Like I don't have any, and I didn't, it happened over a period of time. Now, if I push myself, I'll start feeling it, trust me. But I mean, just in my daily living, I wasn't feeling any pain. And we were living in a house that's kind of like a mansion, and I was helping move, and we were 3 stories up and down and stuff out of attics, 3 12-hour days. And young guys were helping us, and they were getting worn out, and I'm still going, and I'm up there, right? And I didn't really think about it until after, and I thought, shit, I'm not even that tired. I'm not sore. What the hell is it? A lot of it is the energy work we teach, but I'll tell you, a lot of it's this mat technology.
Well, interestingly, one of the head instructors who helps create the manuals for Quantum Touch, we travel with our mat everywhere because it helps with jet lag, and you're often staying in high density EMF when you go to hotels and places like that. And we just brought it along and thought that she'd just poo-poo it because she's the energy healer, right? And often energy healers say, well, if my hands can't do it, it can't be done. And that's not always the case. There's a lot of assistance that we energy healers can bring and to ourselves that we can then give away. And she was blown away. We had the Ajna light with us, and we had the PEMF mat. She wasn't as keen on the Ajna light, which I thought she'd be blown away by. And then she was like, I'm getting one of those mats. And I was like, really? And that just surprises me. And then the other one was in Japan. The name for fibromyalgia in Japan is electromagnetic deficiency. We create this trumped up name that really doesn't have, what does that mean? Fibromyalgia. And now it's like accepted when you're like so electromagnetic deficient that your whole body's incoherent, that you just got something that can't be done for you, and you just need to go and have a rest. And that's not true. People with fibromyalgia, after a little while with the mat, will just jump up and get going, go, thank you for saving my life. Had it happen over and over.
So before I ask you guys, just like what other tech or practices can help people be centered and protected and all this crap. The most obvious thing which people aren't doing is just avoiding the direct exposure to fields. So like I got a friend, he lives in a small apartment in Manhattan. I won't mention who it is. He knows who he is. He literally sleeps next to his router, but it gets better. He's got 2 cell phones, one for business and one for normal stuff. And he literally, he'll be messaging with them and everything's on. He's got everything on. Bluetooth is on. 4G is on, and the cell phone is on, and he'll fall asleep with the phone literally on his chest, and he'll just go straight to bed. So he's got a phone here, and the Wi-Fi are there, and I'm looking at him like, dude. And he doesn't sleep, and he complains, I never get any sleep. It's hard to sleep. It's like, you're literally doing everything you can to bathe yourself in these really damaging fields. Oh. And he's like, yeah, cool, and he'll just do it the next night. He does not. People do not link that they're. And
I know who you are.
Yeah, you know who it is. I'm talking about. And the interesting thing is, and we talked about this earlier, when you're used to feeling not that great, like you're a little sluggish, your energy's kind of like, you're living in a city. You don't even know what it's like to be vibrant and feel amazing and be in a really high vibration. Yeah. So you don't even. So the difference between you having a fucking radiation device next to your head and not, you're always in that. You don't even know the difference. With me, and I was talking about with Josh Mason about this. When you're clean energetically, you do practices, you eat clean food, you're around people who are high, like you just have a pretty clean life. And then suddenly something enters your field that's like really, like if somebody has a Bluetooth phone and I'm talking to them and it's on the table here, it'll take me about 20 to 30 seconds and I'll go, hey man, is your Bluetooth on? Oh, it is. Are you using that right now? No. Do you mind turning it off? They turn it off, boom, I feel great. I got into a car when I was in New York and I just felt funny. I just feel this uncomfortable energy in my head and I'm just like, hey, that's your Bluetooth on your phone? Yeah. Can you manage without it? Great. Can you turn it off? Because I'm so sensitive, because I'm not in these shit all the time, and everybody is. So it's like, just get out of those fields as much as you can. Like, don't put a cell phone up next to you. Get the wireless tube headphones. Use your speakerphone. Turn your modem router off at night. Just do the basic level shit to not have extra exposure, because you're already getting hit by all the Wi-Fi around you. But having it right here in your face is a lot worse than that house over there. That house over there is all the way over there. The field gets
distance.
weaker.
What about those things that people stick in their ears? I haven't had the
Oh, the
courage
Bluetooth
to
ear.
ask.
Yeah, that's
but
terrible.
It's like, are you
I'm
kidding
not going
me?
there. That's brutal. That's brutal. It's like literally putting it next to your brain.
And then
That's
on your
horrible.
wrist. Some people have things on their wrists that are broadcasting signals. And it's just
Here's
like
a-
every heartbeat I have is getting waved with this.
With electromagnetic energy.
You need
yeah,
a mat,
I know.
man.
It's interesting, right? Really quick, because this is a personal story. I mean, you hear a lot of stories out there, and you wonder, can I believe this? Should I believe this? Is this a bunch of shit? I mean, really? But I just want to share this with you honestly, because this is a personal friend of ours who actually had cancer, and she had a tumor in her breast, and through different health technologies, including the mat, which she feels was a big part of this, she had a fairly large tumor in her chest, and it came out, and it left literally an open wound in her breast, and she had to put dressing on it. This is what she told us. She said, if I'm on a phone or near a computer, like in 20 minutes, the outside tissue starts to go gray. She said, if I'm on in front of a computer for an hour, it starts to go black, the tissue. That tells me, wow, that's what's happening on an inner level, but we're not seeing it. We're not seeing what these electromagnetic waves are doing to us. Now, there's no way, I mean, you can do things like you said, which I think are absolutely great, and we all need to do that, right? But we're all in fields. Get used to it. It's not getting better.
Who's
right?
giving up Wi-Fi?
Right? Who's going to give up Wi-Fi at this point? So you just have to be smart and do things to help yourself. And the more you can detox and the healthier you are, breath work, energy work, different technologies are available to cut down on EMFs in your house and on your appliances and things you're using. There is a lot you can do from that standpoint, but this is one of the really good ones that we've come across.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. I had a friend once, he just had this, it was like a curtain made out of, I don't know, silver or God knows what, and it completely, so I had my meter, right, and I was like putting the meter, and then we just put it over the window, and it dropped to like nothing. So if you actually do up your windows in certain bits, and some people put this canopy around their bed, and that blocks everything. So it's a lot of, that's a pain in the ass to do, but there's a lot of stuff you can do that's out there. Was another thing I was going to say. Oh yeah, there's certain supplements you can take. Shilajit is really, really good. It like literally sucks the radiation and stuff out of you. Seaweed as well. Those Japanese seaweed, reishi mushroom, all kinds of shit.
Actually, reishi mushroom. And again, can I verify this? No. Did I hear it from some reliable sources? I believe I did. But, you know, Chernobyl, one of the things that brought down the radiation poison when they had that in Russia was reishi mushrooms. And I think it went down 10-15% on the scale because they would absorb it, you know. And I was like, wow, pretty impressed. In Vancouver, you know, when they had the meltdown in Japan, we're across from them. They were telling us how high, like some people moved out of Vancouver when that happened because they knew it's blowing across to us, right? And some of our friends were measuring it. Sometimes it was really high. They're not talking about it in the media, right? So one of the things our friends were doing was this very high quality.
Chernobyl or Fukushima?
Fukushima.
Chernobyl was in the 80s.
Yeah, Chernobyl's in the 80s, but Fukushima in Japan. And it was
difference there. Which one? Because
He hopped
that's why I
from
said
one
over
to
in
the
Japan.
other
I think
without saying.
didn't
So
I
he
say
does it to me
Japan?
all the time.
Okay, sorry. I did say
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl
That's
was
a
the
different
first
story.
one.
Chernobyl.
That was the first
Then he
one,
went
mushrooms,
to
Chernobyl.
Fukushima.
The second one, I'm talking about Japan. Thanks for that. So that one's blowing over and people are freaking out. So one of our friends, who's a kind of a mad scientist, but he knows a lot, he had certain kinds of iodine that we were taking, and people were like really dosing heavy on iodine, and that really helped. Now, who knows? You know, we're here, we're healthy. I just glad I know people like that, and that we could do some stuff to help, right?
One of the biggest tips for me, I'm very sensitive to the Wi-Fi, so I can do it maybe 30, 40 minutes, and then it just starts bugging me. So, but what I noticed is you could just plug the cable. You could plug a LAN cable from your modem directly into your laptop, and then I use Telegram Messenger on there, so you can actually just type people and make phone calls and do everything, and you're not actually getting that direct exposure, and that makes a fucking huge difference. Any other natural practices that specifically help the feel? Because I know when I do qigong, I really feel like the feel around me is much more powerful. So doing the Falun Dafa, 5 Tibetans, I think it's supposed to align the chakras. But when I'm doing all those practices, I just feel way better. And I feel when I'm doing those, when I do expose myself to Wi-Fi, it's like I can be in there longer because my fields are stronger. So any other practices people can get into that should naturally build up their strength?
Anything coming up for you right off the top, Kath?
Just breath work, chakra clearing.
Yeah. I have a specific routine that I do energetically every day, and it aligns my energy system up. I get very grounded and centered, and it helps me tremendously. And I notice a difference when I don't do it. And actually, I really want to share that with guys. So that'll be coming up soon. But if you can get into any kind of energy work, breath work, and have a practice, yoga, any of those kind of practices. Drinking good water is huge. Mm-hmm. Like, get a really good water filtration system like that. People say, Paul, what are some of the best things I can do for my health? And I said, well, I would say right away, change your water, change your life, and start breathing. 70% of toxins are released through the breath.
Check right now. Did you just take a deep breath?
Right?
Yeah.
And imagine, and if you consciously connect your breath and you start breathing in a more conscious way, you can up the benefits up to 15 times of detoxing your body from these toxins that we're taking in. So super important to breathe properly, drink really good water, and energy work, like the doing energy work, meditating, the breath work with the energy. We are very lucky to have the technology. We have other technologies too, scalar technology. We have sound, oxygen chamber. We have ether or plasma therapy. Like, we're kind of crazy, but I'll tell you, when you walk into our home, and Sasha knows, people can feel the energy on the street walking into the house. And I believe that helps us a lot. So educate yourself and what's affordable to you. But definitely there's practical things you can do. I mean, really good water and breath and understanding the basic principles of energy and how it works. Those are 3 very, very powerful things. Electromagnetic devices, good ones, can make a huge difference. Yeah.
This is fantastic. All right. Well, we got a guy with a fucking leaf blower next door, just going crazy. I don't know if we should. Time to take a break. Maybe it's time to take a break. We might come back, but make sure to be on. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can see the visual of us, beautiful people, on the YouTube. It's the Woke as Fuck podcast on there. I'll put a link up on YouTube because I know you guys can hook people up with those mats. So I'll put a link up if you want to reach out to these guys and get hooked up with the crazy mat technology. And I'll put a link up to a couple of those devices that I use that I know do make a difference. And that's it. We're going to be doing events. I'm traveling around doing stuff all over the planet. So if you really want to be tapped into that, join the mailing list over on www.woke.as. And like the thing. If you're listening on iTunes, like it, write a review, be nice to me, for God's sakes. What are you doing? We're doing it up. We're slaving away here. Loving on you guys. But yeah, it's been great. Thanks a lot again for being on this little show. And we'll do it again. We'll do it again soon. And thank you. Love you guys.
Bye.
Love you guys. See you later. Bye.